everybody, welcome back to Auto Scholar with Mr. B. I'm Mr. B. Today we have this 2006 Chevrolet Malibu SS in here with the 3900 3.9 V6 engine and the automatic transmission, and it is in for a check engine light and low engine power. So I pulled the codes and I'm coming up with a P2070 code, which is for the intake manifold tuning valve, or the intake manifold flat valve is stuck open. Okay, so I'm going to show you everything it takes to diagnose this. I'm also going to show you if you have a P2071 or a P0660. This is basically the same test plan. The 2071 would be if the valve is stuck shut, and the 0660 is if you have a problem with the circuit going to this valve. So we're going to go over, I'm going to pin out every wire and show you exactly what you're supposed to be getting, and I'll show you where the fuse is located that I need you to check. And after that, I'm going to show you how to replace this valve on the car, and we're going to do that all here in one video. So with this valve, the tuning valve, what it does is it actually changes the length of the manifold runners in the manifold, and they do this because they're trying to squeeze as much power and fuel economy out they can out of these internal combustion engines. So if you've ever seen a drag car, you know that the intake is sticking out of the hood. It's very tall, okay? And if you've ever seen a stock car or NASCAR or a road track car, you know the intake is very short, okay? That's because those vehicles operate at two different ranges of operation. So where the drag car operates at higher RPM, it makes more power using a longer intake runner design than the lower RPM range of the street car or the race car. So what this does is, and we're seeing this on a lot of vehicles, it's been around for a while. It's actually a fairly new addition to GM's lineup of stuff they're trying to get out of these engines. But what they're trying to do is give you the best of both worlds. So at a higher RPM, the flap will change and your intake runners will be longer, and it works off of passageways. It's not like this intake just grows or shrinks or anything like that. It works off of passageways. So you have two passageways in this intake, and it can go either short runner or long runner, and all that is just the distance between the throttle body and all the way to the intake valve. So if you have this problem, you're going to get a check engine light. One of the other complaints is the remote start on this vehicle stopped working. So it is one of the codes that will stop the car from the remote start operation, and you will get some a very, very small amount of reduced power. So just because this flap is not working like it's supposed to, and it's not operating the intake at the optimal length for the RPM range. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you where this is, and I'm going to pretty much just point out to the wires and tell you what you're supposed to be getting out of them. We'll go through test plans. I'll show you where the fuses are, and then finally I'm going to show you how to replace this, because the one on this car is faulty. So if this is your first time, watching one of my videos, please like the video and of course subscribe to the channel. I do stuff like this all the time, and I want to make sure that you're replacing this part and you know that the part is bad and it's not something down the line that's causing an issue. Okay, here is our 3900 engine here. So this engine is considered what GM calls the LZ9 engine that's in this car, and it's in a lot of other cars as well. It's not just in this vehicle. It's in Pontiac G6's Malibu SS, Impala, Monte Carlo, Buick Terraza, Chevy Uplander, Pontiac Montana, Saturn Relay, Buick Lucerne. They also have a couple of different variants that are in other vehicles as well, but I just want to focus on the LZ9 that we have in our car here. Okay, so this is where this valve is. It is right here, and probably the hardest part of this job to be replacing this valve is going to be removing this power steering pump. But I wanted to go a little bit into the wiring and how this is set up. So this is the wiring going to it. I have it unplugged right now. And you have the electric side of this valve, and you have the mechanical side as well. So this is the valve here, and this is your intake runner control. So this will open or close. It'll turn this way, and it will actually redirect air through either the short path or the long path on the intake. So you can have the electrical part working and something still not right by this being mechanically broken, stopped up, something wrong with the intake too. So we'll take this out and we'll also inspect the old one as well. And you do have an O-ring here because this goes into the intake. This can cause a vacuum leak if it's leaking. So if you smoke the system and you see smoke coming from here, this O-ring's bad and you'll have to replace it. So let's go into the wiring. You have a 4-pin connector here and a purple and blue connector with a gray weather protector here. And we'll start from the pink and black wire and move over this way. So the pink and black wire, or it might be dark blue, is going directly to your emissions fuse number 6 in your fuse box. So I'm going to show you the fuse box here in a minute, but I just want to show you, this is where the power comes into the motor. It's going to be a 12 volt power. So when you have the car on, okay, you should be getting 12 volts out of this wire. Now, the one next to it is a black wire with a white tracer, and this is going to be your ground. So you should be able to take your multimeter, put it on resistance, and this should have 0 ohms going to a good known ground, like you can get on the battery or something like that. So we got battery voltage and we got ground. Okay, the orange, solid orange wire here, which is the third one over, our pin C, is going to pin 32 to the ECM, okay? And the yellow and black wire all the way over here to the right, if you're looking at the pin and the connectors on the top, it's all the way to the right. That is going to be a yellow black wire and the pin 64 to the engine control module. So you can run resistance from the pins to the ECM and make sure all this wiring is good, or if you need to do an overlay, of course, you know where all that's going. So power, ground, and then these two, you have your third wire, the orange one is going to be your control circuit for this. So it's going to be the signal going into this, telling it where to go, okay, whether it needs to be on low or high. And then this wire all the way to the right is going to be coming back and it's going to be relaying the position of this to the ECM. And so when the ECM is trying to turn this and it's coming back with a problem, then that's what kicks your your P2070 or 2071 code. If you're having a problem with this actually working at all, that's when you may get a P0660 code. So good way to tell what's going on is just taking your scan tool and commanding this on and seeing if it moves. And if it moves, then maybe we have a mechanical issue back here, or maybe we have a wiring issue. If it doesn't, then we have to go in here and figure out what's going on with that. Check your powers, check your grounds, check your signal wires going all the way back to the ECM. And then if all else fails, then that's when we replace this part. Okay, so here we are at the fuse box. So first thing you need to do before you do anything is to check this fuse right here. It's a 10 amp fuse. It's fuse number 6, and this is what's going to drive everything up line. Now, if this fuse is blown, you may have other codes in the car, but this part of the car is not going to work, and you will set probably a P0660 code, or depending on how it sticks, either of the other two codes that we're talking about. So always check this fuse. You may just want to go ahead and just check every fuse in the car just to make sure it's okay. That's what I always do when I have these engine lights come on. I check my grounds and I check my powers for everything, because a lot of things can happen down the line. It can cause issues down the line that you wouldn't think would be within a connected system. So always check, always stick to your basics. It's normally something basic. Okay, so one thing you can do here is you can plug this back in, and you want to run off your back probe, okay? You want to use a back probe, and you want to back probe your signal wire, which is your IMT signal, which is going to be the yellow black wire, and you want to ground your other probe, and you want to set your meter to duty cycle, okay? So you set your meter to duty cycle, you got this plugged in, and crank up the vehicle, and the duty cycle should be anywhere between 8 and 12% duty cycle for their during your first startup. Then it should creep up to 15 to 30% once the idle levels out and everything. And then above 1,000 RPM, the IMT should read about 70 to 90% duty cycle with that one wire. Okay, so keep that in mind, that those are your specifications for your signal coming out, telling the computer exactly what's going on with the position on this. And if that is not the specification you're getting, then you've got a problem for sure. Okay, so I have my meter sitting here. I'm actually inside the car, and I have my meter set here. I have it set on duty cycle. Let's see what we get. Key on. Kind of all over the place. I'm getting 40 to 60 or so, leveled out at about 59.5. Let's crank it up. And I'm in the 50s, 60s. That's way too high. Okay. So now we're going to rev it up to 1,000. Over 1,000 RPM. Not much change. If I give it the beans here, you see there's just, it's not working. Okay. So this is not you know, going up to that percentage over 1,000 RPMs it should be, and it's not responding like it should. It's almost dead. So definitely going to need another motor. At least it's reporting everything back like it's supposed to. So basically the tuning motor is just bad, or the flat motor is bad. Okay, so to remove this whole thing right here has to slide this way to come out. Okay, so we have a glaring problem. The power steering pump is in the way. All right, so first thing we have to do is take the belt off. Don't forget to remember where your belt routing and everything goes. But I went ahead, and it's just a square pin down there. I'm pulled back this way. I used just a pull handle right here, pulled that back. The tensioner is down there, and you'll see a square hole. I really can't get a good shot of it with the camera. So. And now we're going to have to go ahead and take apart the power steering pump. Let me go ahead and unplug this, get this out of the way, get it out of its wiring loom, and get it out of the way. Okay, now GM has blessed us with this power steering pump that has holes in it. And so you got a bolt here, here, and here. We got 3 bolts, and hopefully I can just swing this out of the way so we can sneak this out and I won't have to take anything else off. So these are 13 millimeter heads. We got one right here. Have one right here. And the last one's bottom left. That was pretty easy. Now what we're going to do is just try to slide this out. The engine's a little hot right now, so I'm having to be careful. And it's jammed in there pretty good. So you got to do a little finagling. And there we go. So we got to take these 3 bolts off right here, and it should just slide out. These bolts are 10 millimeter. Once we get the last bolt out, hopefully it'll just tug out. Maybe might need a little pry bar or something. And we're going to gently take this out, and that's that. Now we're going to slide this back in. We have to kind of wiggle this AC line around a little bit. And we're going to press this to where that O-ring seals in there. You may, if you find it hard to press it in there, you may want to put a little lubricant on that O-ring. Just WD-40 or something will work. We're going to put our bolts back in. And we'll be all set. Okay, everybody, so that wasn't that bad of a repair. Went ahead and got everything back together, got the belt back on. Now we're going to go ahead and clear the codes and take the car for a test drive and make sure that everything checks out properly. So if you like the video, if it taught you anything, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, VK, and I provide a lot of stuff on there as well that I can't really put on YouTube. So follow me on there, and I will put plenty of entertaining stuff there. Some of my exploits from the shop and being an automotive instructor. Good luck with your repair, and we'll see you next time on Auto Scholar with Mr.